iTurf Business TV are today joined by David Snowden from Agronomic Services and an agronomist, Andy Cole, who's got 34 years experience in the industry and is with iTurf Management currently. Andy, thanks for joining us. I'll come to you first. Tell us a little bit about you and your background and what iTurf Management actually does.
Thanks very much for the introduction, Martin. iTurf Management was set up 3.5 years ago as an independent consultancy group. We're actually based in the UK, but I also have a subsidiary in Paris where we look after the Stade de France Stadium. We also look after Bordeaux, Le Mans and Nice as part of the group. And the company also have a consultancy beyond that, which includes a consultancy with FIFA and also UEFA, as well as our own local sort of business here in the UK.
Okay. And in terms of your experience, 34 years, you've obviously done a lot in that time, part of which is being one of the first guys to set up a recognised body. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. Well, RIPTA, which is the Register of Independent Professional Turfgrass Agronomists, was set up to identify, if you like, for the end user, for the client who doesn't know necessarily what an agronomist is, but who might be looking for consultancy at a particular level. And the register was set up to identify those members who are degree qualified, so have a deep understanding, if you like, of what the business is all about, and going back to first principles, and not just relying on necessarily recent experience or even, beyond that, on how to do the job. So it's very much first principles and advising the client from a broad base of knowledge.
And I think you do work sometimes hand in hand with David at Agronomic Services, and you've obviously known one another for some time. How does that relationship work?
Dave and I have known each other for a long time. I've got a lot of respect for David Snowden. I think his knowledge of product especially is second to none. And I've always found him very honest and open when it comes to finding solutions to problems that I faced or looking for a second opinion. So David and I very much work as a sounding board off each other and have done for many years.
Okay, so let's bring David into the conversation now then, and if you guys want to kick off and take it where you will.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks,
I think if you want to kick off, David,
I think, with reference to what's going on at the moment, I think it's down to the likes of people like you and me and a handful of our counterparts and peers, where the industry of managing sports turf, whether it's warm season in the Middle East or whether it's cool season grass of a Sunday League club or a golf course, I think I wanted to have a discussion with you about, where can we try and help our industry? Because it is changing times. It's definitely going to be changing times, and we're going to have to manage. People are going to have to manage turf differently after all of this, with reference to the high inputs of demands, etc. And again, my mission statement is less is more. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. All of the things are great to sound, but I think what I wanted to do from these little chats and Martin, when we talked about it, is how we can potentially help a little bit the industry in what it's doing, where it's going.
Absolutely. I think the one thing that you and I try to do with our clients is to get them to understand what those first principles are all about. And it's not just a case of, trust me, I'm a doctor, the check's in the post. It's what are the problems that you've got at the moment? What are the issues that are causing you not to have the quality of turf that you're looking for? And so often, when you go back to looking at the basics of soil science, soil chemistry, soil physics, then things start to make sense. The interactions between all those elements start to come together to make the whole subject a lot more understandable.
Agreed. And, again, from the history of agricultural agronomy, and you look at understanding that we rape and pillage the soils and forcing synthetic fertilizers back into the soils to try and keep our yield up. Actually, what's taken change is understanding how we can make our soil or root zone far more efficient at its job without putting so much into it. You know, whether it's your humic acids, whether it's your soil conditioners, on making life so much more efficient in a soil should be a way that we go forward. Yes, we've got all the different ranges of foliar feeding, soil liquids and granulars, all have their place. But I think it would be responsible of us to look at how we can help individuals manage their soil, their growing medium, as you say, to a higher level. I would love to see that happen more.
Yeah, and I think, you know, so often we're chasing the end game. You're chasing, you know, having the perfect playing surface at 3 o'clock as it used to be on a Saturday afternoon, whereby if you don't get the basics right, then you don't have that quality pitch at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. And I think, you know, interesting times that we're in now, it is giving a lot of people time to think and reflect on what they have, on the fact that they are currently having to reduce their inputs because of social distancing and all the other things that the government are telling us, and actually starting to read a lot more about the subject and spend time thinking about what's going on. And that's what I've tried to do with my clients currently is I haven't got the time to get out into the field, but I have got the time to interact and start raising those questions and asking them, what are their current plans? You know, have they got a current soil analysis? You know, all the things, again, that you and I take for granted. Let's look at those elements now while we've got time and work out a plan, work out a program so that we can get back onto an even keel.
So we're just thinking about the concept behind taking a soil sample and understanding why you're taking it, and a water sample, which is potentially irrigation water. And Andy, you pointed out that, you know, a very, very simple, straightforward factor, pH. What is pH? You know, it's the trees and the plants that produce an exudate that's around about the 6.5-ish. So that's where most of the elements and nutrients and soil can be potentially taken up. But if you've got a pH of 9, that's going to indicate the sediments, but a lower pH, that aren't available.
Exactly.
So from our standpoint, you know, getting someone to take a soil analysis now and a water analysis now that can help them, give them guidance in why they're putting food on and what quantity. Yeah.
And certainly those that have never taken a soil sample before, I would suggest that you have a complete analysis to look at both the macronutrients, the micronutrients, the electronic conductivity, the cation exchange capacity. Look at the whole lot in the round so that you can then sift through that quite forensically to determine what's right, what's wrong, what needs to be corrected, what needs to be improved on, so that, you know, we can get that balance right. And I think, as you said right at the start, David, you know, that's when you can get back to that less is more scenario and optimize growth by making sure that everything is in the round.
If you become extremely efficient at understanding what your growing medium can provide you, then you can get a more cost-effective and strategic way of feeding to a degree. And rather than then having to look at how much fungicide I'm going to put on because I put on X amount of kilos of nitrogen and I've got a flush of growth and then diseases around the corner. And so if we, you know, fungicides are getting less and less, we should be looking at how the lovely term that I call the nitrogen crack cocaine, the plant's the only element the plant can't say no to, is when you put it on and how much you put on. But understanding that your plant can survive immensely well if you've got a balanced diet of nutrients, macro and micronutrients, and balance. And if you need to supplement slightly with a jug of something, then great. But you can go an awful long way with managing your soils, even if it's a hybrid pitch that's got a very low CAC, or even an old push-up green. Yeah.
How frequently would you be looking to take soil analysis over a year?
Yeah, I mean, I think an ideal scenario is twice. You know, you're coming into before the start of the season and going into towards the latter part of the season, preferably, obviously, when you haven't got putting a nutrient input on. You're always going to get lower readings of anything that you take in colder months than you are in warmer months, full stop, because you've got less activity. But I think if you can do it, I'd certainly do it once a year, and if you can do it twice a year with an irrigation water once a year.
Yeah, I think if you do that, you see, then you can start relating change over time to make
Definitely.
sure that you've got that balance right. Put it into a graph and see
Yeah.
how the nutrients are changing over time, why
Yeah.
that's occurring, and what you need to put it right.
Sure. I mean, again, there's so many more smart chemicals on the market that can manage organic matter thatch, improve microbial activity without actually going down synthetic route to increase. You can actually get the soil to work for itself more and more. And that comes back to a little bit like you said, your organic farming. That is, you can put in things that can help the soil, but it's perform at a higher, higher percentage.
Yeah, and it is very much a holistic approach, isn't it? Then, you're
Definitely.
not bearing down on any one particular item, but you're looking at everything, that has to interact.
And I know we've had a good old just a sort of a banter backwards and forwards, but trying to come back and bring this back to help individuals in the industry. It's, look at your course and your grass the best way you can as a growing, and look at the growing medium and how you can influence that and how you think you can increase the efficiency of the growing medium wherever it is. And you'll probably end up using less fertilizer.
And I think simple measurements as well. I mean, every time you cut the grass, you've got to measure on how well that grass is growing by the amount of clippings that you've taken off. So if you have a Dennis mower, for example, the capacity of the collection box is about 60 litres. So if you're taking off 4 boxes, it's 240 litres of grass. Make a note in the diary. It's a good reference point in terms of how well the grass is growing, when you need to put the next application of fertilizer on to maintain that optimum growth.
Sure.